Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and HobbyLink Japan has mirror catapulted the second Big Order Room series set at my Zondar party. This is the duo of Hyoryu and Enryu from Super Robot Chogokin, along with another quarter of their home base hangout. The twin dragons have practically identical sculpts that capture a clean image of how they looked in the Gaogaigar anime series. They're a medium tier of beefy, delightfully formed from hard-edged boxes of bravery, with doses of diecast filling out their elbows, knees, and feet. There's a strange feeling of perfect mass when one holds them in hand. And all of their big boxy surfaces are etched with just the right number of panel lines and fine details. Nearly every paint app is bordered by some sort of physical marker. And what clean paint apps, on mine at least. Hyoryu and Enryu have gone for a non-metallic semi-gloss finish on their blue and red, which does unfortunately not match up with the more metallic Choryujin figure released earlier in the Super Robot Chogokin line. But fortunately does look fabulous on its own. I'm cool with the non-uniform finishes, but a little bummed out that the blanched white faces haven't got any sort of shading to help define the otherwise accurate sculpts. The brothers' heads are one of the only non-identical things about them, specifically the forehead emblems. Their chests are the other unique feature, though it's really just a case of a horizontally flipped visual. I am legitimately disappointed that you can't represent the chest thriller and chest warmer attacks. Feels like a big oversight given how much else these guys come with. Just put a hinge on there, let me open it up, let's get all supernova! Starting off with hand options, Hyoryu and Enryu have got their requisite Zondar Socken fists. A simple ball joint pop lets you swap them for some splayed hands, which have an appreciable cut that allows for a hinge-like amount of tilt. Finally, there are gripping hands, designed to hold either their rifles or their pencil launchers. Both weapon types look on par with the figures, the pencil launchers having an overall metallic sheen that sticks out perhaps a tad much. There's also a face swap option identical on each brother. They start off with a calm face, but either, or both, can adopt a hot-blooded bellowing face. The swap's pretty easy, perhaps a touch finicky the first time. Hyoryu and Enryu have also got their ladder and crane backpack pieces, which have a decent amount of motion at their connection point, but are otherwise disappointingly static. They have no hydraulic tilt, no extension capability, and the only way they can be wielded as tonfas are in a bit of a caveman fashion. Like when you rip your own leg off and try to club someone with it. Finally, Enryu's got his mirror shield. This has two plug-in options, either a handle for personal defense, or a socket that lets the shield attach to Enryu's backpack in place of his ladder. The mirror coating is represented in a slightly dull metallic, and I'm still not sure if I wish it had more reflectivity to its sheen or not. Oh, there are also a pair of undercrotch clips that allow Hyoryu and Enryu to attach to Tamashi's stages. Hooray! So for posability, we're going to look at everything from the waist up on the cool-headed one, because this is a thematic thing with... Anyway, his head is on a ball joint at the top of the neck, and the neck's base connection to the torso can also move around a little bit, mostly side to side. His shoulders have a multi-part system, much like Little Volfog. Actually, the main connection point here, that gray bit, can move forward a tad, so he can reach in front of himself. It's also where the ball socket metal connection is for the whole assembly. The shoulder pad's on its own swivel joint here, while the arm is on a separate one right beneath it. There is a bicep swivel. This all basically means that his shoulder movement has a very wide amount of range and multiple systems in place to prevent anything from getting in the way of what you want to do with him. His elbows are not just double-jointed, but straight up just a die-cast plate double-jointed, and that's pretty impressive. His wrists are on ball joints. They don't come off super easy, so everything's quite solid there, and you get a little bit of wiggle room for his fists or whatever other options you stick on there. His ab joint... It's a lot better for moving side to side than forward and backwards, but you do get all of those axes of motion. The waist ball joint is pretty free. It bumps into the side skirts a little bit if you try to turn him way to the side, but for natural motions, everything feels fine. And on his backpack, the whole backpack assembly can flap like a wing, and the crane can swivel around on its connection point. It uses a ball joint connection, but it's one of those things where it's more like a mushroom cap connection than anything else, because there's no forward or backwards motion. It's just one axis, and it can slide. Anyway, moving on to everything from the crotch down, let's get red and fiery. This whole thing is another assembly among assemblies. The skirts on the sides are on their own little hinges. If you look inside here, there's a a ton of die-cast stuff going on. And the front skirts can move up individually, and this kind of reveals how the mechanism here works. There's one upper hinge for outward motion, but then there is a separate lower hinge here for forward and backward motion. With the skirts down, that means that he's got a really good range of kicking arc without messing up or putting at risk the construction of things. Again, very well designed and well-built assembly with really smart placement of die-cast for the internal structure. There's a thigh swivel. Like his elbows, there's a double joint with a big old plate of metal for the inner workings, or I guess the visible inner workings, which are kind of outside. Also, there's a little ratchet in there, mostly for when you're clicking it back down. And that's just delightful. The feet are die-cast. They're on ball joints. They've got their own swivel system for side-to-side tilting, which is incredibly hindered by the divot that his boots occupy inside the leg. And there is a very tough toe joint. So these guys have, much like Little Volfog, a great package of posability that's built extremely well, and this time in a slightly larger body that can give enough force feedback to the power of your own fingers to not kind of buckle under you just when you pick them up. These guys feel tremendously good, real solid to pose, and I love the combination of all the joints and engineering, the die-cast, and then this just perfect action figure size. Well done, brothers! Continuing the Big Order Room series, Hyoryu and Enryu include another quarter of the diorama. It's identical to Volfog's, trading out the center of the table for a second seat. It's here that the modular seat placement really comes into play, as you can arrange things to accommodate Enryu's temperament. And hey, now you've got half a room! You can push it up against a wall, or use each quarter as a bookend of some kind. Costing just over $20 more than Volfog and his section of the room, I think the standalone value proposition is much higher for the Hyoryu and Enryu set. Volfog's not poor by any means, but the additional cost of these two easily pays off having two well-armed robot figures that feel a lot more solid and substantial than their Big Order Room ninja predecessor. Absolutely, I wish there was more going on with their ladder and crane weapons, but they are otherwise so fully featured and immensely satisfying to handle that I can get over it pretty fast. It also helps that you get a friggin' pair of them. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and the other half of the Big Order Room series got bumped over to Tamashii Web exclusive status. Those two sets are currently out of my reach, but I can assure you, my friends, I shall find a way. I will make this 0% grow to 100 and then 1,000. Bravery shall succeed!